Hey everyone, this is Alan over at Cobblers Plus in Denver. Today we're going to be working on this pair of Ferragamo boots that need to get resoled and worked on. You can see somebody's done some work before, replacing the heel and putting on a protective sole, and created a mouth for it as well. Unfortunately, these were originally Blake stitched soles, and when they were putting on that protective sole, they must have cut through the Blake stitching. Quite possibly, because that doesn't look like it was done by anyone as far as being resold in the past. So for today, that's our process. Now we're going to be putting on a pair of JR soles, and then over top of that we're putting on a protective sole. Usually, in most cases, you don't need any kind of protection over top of that JR sole, but this gentleman asked for it, so we're gonna do what he asked. Alright. Oh no. Somebody used super glue to attach that heel. There's super glue in there. No. No super glue. Hang on just a second, I'm here by myself, so hang on. Sorry about that. Got interrupted by a fellow cobbler out in Georgia by the name of Zane. And what's their shop name? Snellville? I'm sorry, Zane, I can't pronounce that on there. Snellville Shoe Repair, I guess. I think you mentioned it to me over the phone, but he decided to give me some crap on a pair of boots that I posted in a group, just a picture of, and see if I start work on those yet, and probably not gonna do so. They were just shot completely. But these ones are well worth doing, so we're gonna go ahead and do them. So we got the top lift heel off, and then let's see if we get, usually we heat these protective soles up and try to remove them, but let's see if I can try to remove it without, there we go. Just a matter of finding that good spot, I guess, and hope it doesn't rip. But I have to remove the protective sole first. In some cases you could actually remove the sole, with the protective sole. But in this case, these have had a bit of a rough life, and I don't want to damage the welt on there. And the welt is this nice little trim here that makes it look like it's stitched through there. It actually isn't a Goodyear welted boot. It's just a Blake stitched, so that welt is just there for decorative purposes. And we don't want to damage the original one. Oh man. I may have to give out on it and just end up heating this guy up and removing that sole. But it gives you an idea of what's going on in here. You can see those stitches are getting pulled. They were cut through and sanded, and I have no idea what the heck they did. It looks like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it looks like it was stitched, but it wasn't. You can see by the floppy mouth there, it wasn't stitched. All right, but usually I'd be prying off the heel base at this point, but I want to get that protective sole off of there first so I get a better visual of what's going on under there. So I'll go ahead and stick this in the oven. I'll do this all off camera for you guys, so we're not wasting too much time. And I'll do the same thing with the other boot and just pry off that little heel base, and I'll see you guys back here when we're pulling off that protective sole. All right. I was so dumb. I should have noticed that before. The stitches used to be white, so these are the original factory stitches still, and in a few areas they just sanded it out too much, and that's what happened. I just started to pull. So set this on the side, grab our other one. Oof, it's still pretty warm. Now I had the oven off, so don't worry, they weren't just sitting there in the oven the whole time with the oven on. They were just sitting there in the oven with the oven off. But we need that heat to deactivate the rubber cements, and heat can help activate certain rubber cements, and it will also deactivate almost any of them. So I always say, don't leave your boots or shoes or anything that's glued in a hot car. Might not even be hot. It could be snowing outside, but like us here in Colorado, we could get a bunch of snow, and then the sunlight comes out. The sunlight reflects off that snow and heats up that car. Your inside of the car can reach up to 90-95 degrees sometimes, even with piles of snow outside. I mean, jeez, it was hot. And go outside, you got a thick snow jacket on, just sit in your car, and you're dying from heat exhaustion the second you get in there. All right. Oh. Okay. Wonder if I have the strength to do this. Oh, just pop the last off. There we go. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about in a sec. Oh man. Whew. And this thing is still pretty hot too. Got that off now. But I took that off. So this is the last I'm talking about. We've got our jack stand right here that it stands on. And then this is what's called last right there. We got different shapes, sizes. This is like a lady's high heel. See how it's angled? This is just a men's right there. It's cast iron last. Most of the ones that you see nowadays, the jack stand, the base of it is not cast iron. This one is, and I love this one here because of that. I just need to get more steel lasts for it. Sorry about that, my battery was dying, so I'll switch it out. But anyways, we're using what's called a heel pry. It's a slightly angled tool like that that looks like a screwdriver that's wider and a little bit sharper. It allows us to get underneath here and just kind of pry everything a little more open. This is one of the most handy multi-tools for a cobbler that we use. I mean, you could use technically a screwdriver, but a screwdriver is definitely not gonna work the same. Let's see, probably. Okay, there it goes. You heard that pop. Now there's clinch nails on the inside here holding this heel base on. Oh. And they're just popping because they're sliding through the hole. And clinch nails, there we go, they usually go on the inside of the boot and then they come out, you can see right there, and they're usually threaded. The clinch nails, they have these little threads that almost make it work like a barb and forces it to grip onto these heel bases so that they don't come off. Alright, so we've got the heel base off. Gotta get this one off too. I'm actually going to use a little bit more of this here and put it on the bottom of the sole right there. Usually in most cases what we end up doing is actually going through and sanding up these stitches right around here for the Blake stitching, so that we're able to take everything apart. But because the person who did the protective soles already on these, they've basically done the job for us, at least from here up, you know, in most of the cases. And these stitches are starting to rot anyways too, so there's no need for us to actually go through and try to sand it. So we'll actually use the heel pry to open it up and then just cut whatever stitches we come across. You know, some cobblers will grab the pliers like this and just yank this whole heel base out. I don't like doing that, even if I'm replacing the heel base, just because it gives me a better idea of what might be potentially going on underneath that heel base. You know, I don't expect anything to be going on, but taking these extra steps definitely can end up saving me from anything that may occur. You know, and especially if you're saving the heel bases if you grab them with the pliers, things like this may happen. See how it's all separating? Now we're going to be fixing that anyways. At this point, these heel bases have been through hell and back, so it's kind of expected that they were going to come apart like that. Alright. There we go. So just came all apart right there at the back there. So definitely have to keep these together so that they don't get separated. So this is from the right foot, man. Can't even see that marker. See if my silver pen works. Right foot, 91, 95, one pair of men's boots. There we go. I'll just keep these together up here on the shelf. Okay. I always have to cover this. Sorry, I can't show you guys how it's clipping because these nails actually, they kind of shoot out, and who knows what direction they'll go. They could either hit my phone, my camera, you know, hit somebody else nearby, and sometimes even hit your eye when I'm doing this kind of stuff here. I'm not wearing my goggles because they start to get a little fogged up, but still have to cover it up with my hand like that, cup it over while I'm cutting it, just to prevent those nails from shooting random directions. And that's all it does, it just clips the nails. There's nothing too fancy or specific about it. Got a little on my hand. Wipe it off. I don't like acetone, turpentine, and all that on my bare hands. Feels a little weird. Now, at this point, it's easier for me to sit down and use my heel pry again. And I'm just gonna get in here, I'll show you, and separate that welt right there from the leather sole itself. But anyways, we're just separating that sole from the welt there, and like I said, I mean, this guy who did them before, he already cut through most of these Blake stitches anyways, so you know, there isn't really much else I need to do. And it's just going through like butter. Look at that. That heel pry is just sliding through with ease. Sometimes you gotta work it. See, like this in the back of the heel, he didn't touch the heel even though it wasn't stitched. I gotta put a little more effort into removing it. Now, grab my knife here. This is my little cut knife for stitch cutting knife. It literally just gets in there, and I'm trying to make this as visible as possible for you, but it gets in here and just cuts these stitches for me a little bit easier. And it's looking like this inside though is in really good shape though, at least. Dang it. Get a better grasp of it. There we go. Yeah, at least the inside is in good shape here. Sometimes I might come across where this inside here is damaged or worn out badly. Luckily, these are not. Otherwise, it just entails a little bit more work. So we're gonna go ahead at this point and get in here and remove, if I can, remove that insole. You know, we're not replacing it or anything. You know, the gentleman wanted to keep it and all, but you know, at least it's in fairly decent shape. But we got to remove it anyways because we're going to end up stitching it. And the other thing is, it gives us better access in here to at the very least try to remove these gripper nails as best we can. Sometimes they're in there pretty good and they're not really getting in the way in any kind of fashion, but it It's one of those things I like to do sometimes. Pull out these gripper nails by the head because I can't pull them out through this side, otherwise I'm ripping them out because they've got that head on there. I'm just using a nail pulling pry. It's like you find on your regular basic hammer on the back end, but it's just a smaller version to be able to pry like that there. Pry up those nails. And sometimes they're easier to take out, sometimes they're impossible to take out. I hate those impossible ones because I'll sit there for like 5 minutes just on one stupid nail, and it like beats me up basically. Alright, so we've got all the nails out. No nails there. Now of course we've got our little tack nails that hold down the upper, which those you don't want to touch anyways. And at this point I'm gonna wrong pliers. These are my pliers. Now at this point we're going to reach in there and try to remove the old stitching from the Blake stitch machine, and let's see if I can open it up. But you can see right there those stitches, that's what a Blake stitch looks like on the inside. It literally, the arm of the machine goes inside the boot like this, and it's flipped upside down, and the needle comes down like this straight through the sole, midsole, whatever you may have on there, and through this upper as well, and stitches everything together. Now, Blake stitch construction, it's not a bad construction, but of course your best one will always be a Goodyear welted boot. Those you can resole many times before, you know, they can't be resoled if done properly. A Blake stitched boot or shoe, the life expectancy is a little bit less, unfortunately, because we can't see if we're aiming for the exact same holes on the inside. I mean, we can't do it on a Goodyear welted boot as well that easily, but we're at least able to adjust the length of the stitch and the guides and everything, and just adjust it to fit as close, if not perfect, to what the old stitches were like, and aim for that same original hole. But with the Blake stitch, we can't do that. It's impossible for us to see in there unless we had a mini camera inside showing us what we're doing. And even then, I don't even think that would help at all, actually, because it's so pressed into in there against that arm. Okay, take a little bit of acetone and just clean some of this gunk off. Might be some extra dirt or dust that I missed with the air compressor. Clean off the welt some. And there's a few spots of the welt that are secured on there pretty good. I'm not going to try to rip them off or anything. Keeps them in position up. That one came off. Alright. Make sure where and how it lines up. Now, as far as relining everything, it's not that hard to do. I don't know if you can see it there, but there are impressions left from the ridges here from that welt, and we're just going to follow through and re-secure it in those same exact spots. Now this one, usually we double check the shank to make sure that it's fine. This one's actually not the shank so much. Right here that you see, the shank is actually embedded inside here, and you know, there's no real way of fixing that without literally tearing this whole thing apart. I mean, it's doable, but it gets very costly to do. But you know, sometimes we have to do it. But in this case, luckily the shank is completely intact. So we always try to match up the original thickness unless you specify you want thinner or thicker. This is what's 1011. You can see the numbering on there. That's not the size length of this or the width, it's the thickness of the leather here. It's a 1011 iron. There's 8 to 9 and 11 to 12 as well, and I believe even 7 to 8 too in the JR, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is JR sole here. Now Some of you who are familiar enough with the sole, you may have noticed that you've got the gold label there, or you've got the black label. There's no difference between the two. They're actually the same. It's just, you know, one has the gold, one doesn't. And the gold label, the problem with it, sometimes it actually gets nicked badly when we are trying to work on finishing these out. So it might not always turn out exactly looking like that if we have to put a finish on it. The black one, it tends to be a little bit deeper in there, so, but it's black, it won't make much difference. So that's the only difference. Just wanted to show that. And because we're putting a protective sole on, I don't want to waste a beautiful gold one. Might be able to use that for something else. Alright, so we're over here at our Jackmaster sander. We're gonna start out with our 24 grit sandpaper here, the belt. Then we've got a nice trimmer up here that will trim things up for us. And right here on the very tip, that's our groove, our channel groover. And it's just gonna groove out a little channel for us. So it's gonna get noisy. If you want, you can skip over this, or if you'd like to watch through, I'll try to fast forward it for you. It might take a little while. Alright, let's get started. Forgot to mark up where the heel base is, but I had to trim it out anyways to do that beforehand, so there's a faint little line right there that marks where that heel base will be, so I could sand that out. Alright, let's keep going. This gives us the start of our channeling. It just marks it up nicely. I'm going to take a little bit of water at this point now and just spray it on the bottom of the sole. If I can. This will help lubricate everything and soften up that leather, be able to work a little better with it. So we got most of that channeling done on this guy already. Now, I did forget, I still had to mark that protective, so I forgot we were doing protective soles on this pair. I'm not used to doing pros on JR leather soles, just because everybody who gets a JR leather sole, they keep it JR, you know, not put a protective sole over top. So I'll be right back. I gotta grab the heel bases anyways too. Those need to be sanded up as well and stuck together. So I'll see you guys back in just a second. Alright, so we're back over here again, and I just marked a line right there for that protective sole, which I forgot to do before. But we'll go ahead and sand that out a little bit. We want to do that before we do the stitching so that that stitching is protected as much as possible. We'll bevel out the edges of these protective soles we're putting on. He chose the Vibram Protective Sole there. It's just about 2 millimeters thick. And then of course rough up the heel bases on it so that we can get ready to start putting on all the adhesives and it drying. Alright, let's get going. Alright, so we got that all taken care of now. We got the heel bases sanded up there. And then got the protective soles here. Saw me just rough up that bottom a little bit more, and then I beveled this edge right here a little bit finer so that when it sits right there, it's on the wrong boot there, but when it sits right here, it's as flush as possible with that leather so it doesn't really stick up or anything up. Sorry, I should show you a little bit better, but it sits as flush as possible right there. And that's usually what we try to do. And then you saw me go through that channel again. I had to clean it up just a little bit with the groover, and just in case get that extra little bit of depth that we sanded out when we were sanding the protective sole area. But I'll go ahead and get this all ready. We're going to go to the other room, to the stitch room, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you in a second. Alright, so we're over here at our Blake stitch machine. We call it our McKay stitch. And put a new thread in that I'm actually hoping to test out. Hopefully it does us good. Oh, actually, before I put that on, I forgot. I gotta spray it down with some more water. The water is going to help lubricate the needle going in a little bit, but also soften up that leather to help it open up a little bit better as well. So water is very important, especially with these JR soles. They're so dense. We need some kind of lubrication, some way of softening it. So we're going to go ahead and stitch this now. Got stuck in a spot, so let's try to. Give me some trouble, of course, when I'm recording. Alright, let me take care of this real quick. Alright, so we're back over here in our main repair room. We're going to get ready to glue everything, but beforehand I'm going to rough it up just a little bit more after that sanding using one of these little scrapers here. Kind of makes the adhesive binding a little bit better in certain spots for the protective sole. And as well as this heel area, there are a few spots that seem to have gotten just a little bit smoothened out during the stitch process, which can happen, not always, but sometimes. And it's quite literally just, it's kind of dirty, but curved razors basically that just angle like that pretty much, and they just scrape everything up just enough for us. I could use a piece of sandpaper too, but those scrapers just get a little bit deeper into those spots for us. All right. All right, so it's all glued up with our first coat, and again we're going to do first and second coat as well on just the leather sections. So this is our right foot here. Make sure to get the right heel base on there. Now I'm just gonna give just a light tap around like that, and then stick it on the press. Now I'm gonna, well, sorry, it's perfect time for me to mention, for those of you who don't know, the JR sole. If you're new to this channel, if you're new to learning about the industry of shoe repair and leather work, JR leather sole, here, let me tap that real quick, is a premium grade leather. Stands for John Rendenbach, and it's much denser leather than your average leather sole you find, whether it's new from the factory or regular repairs like our house grade leather, for example. They're tanned very differently than most other leathers that you find. They're submerged in a solution that's in a bed that's dug out in the ground using oak bark to tan these, and takes them a total of 12 months to finish these out. During the curing process, the fiber structure and the pores, they become very, very tight during that curing process in this leather, making it extremely dense and durable. So when you're wearing these, you're gonna definitely have these last you for many years. The other major difference, because they're treated in such a fashion, they actually don't take on any moisture. You saw me spraying it with the water bottle and it darkened up because it got wet. That's only the small surface area where they finished it out like this. But the actual leather itself won't take on any water or moisture, as well as salt and quite a few chemicals too. So it won't degrade just from that alone. Some leather soles I've seen degrade due to, being wet for a period of time and then drying, being wet again, and it just starts to degrade. And then salt as well. If you're in an area where it snows and they put out that chemical salt out there, it absorbs into that leather significantly and degrades it, where this sole won't. Now, like I said, we're doing a protective sole for this pair, and that protective sole will help your average leather sole definitely with durability. For a JR sole, when it comes to your durability, it doesn't make a difference. You don't really need to put a protective sole on there. This gentleman wanted it on there mainly for the traction, just because it gives him that extra little bit of grip. So that's what we were after with those. Now we're going to be putting on some JR combo heels on also, but as soon as we're done with that protective sole, we're actually going to go over to what's called our heel wheel, and it's designed to run nails in through the inside here to secure this heel base a little bit better on there. Now the rubber cement will hold it up very well, but running some nails in definitely helps a lot more, and we usually use these gripper nails. I don't know if that will show, but it's got these little ridges on it that angle upwards, so once they go in, they grab hold of that material and really hold it in place. You saw me removing the old ones from here, but we're gonna have to put new ones in there to hold that heel base down some more. Now some shops, they'll run just a bunch of wire nail in here to hold it down. I don't like to do that. I prefer to do it the proper way from the inside. Then again, there's also some brands, like Allen Edmonds is a good example. They actually use these same exact gripper nails that are 5/8 inch long and run the nails in through the top, securing it that way. Still, securing the heel base from the inside is much better, but Allen Edmonds' particular build of shoe, it doesn't allow to do so without, basically destroying the shoe, in other words, or taking it apart significantly. So it just goes in over the top like that. These ones, we're going to do it the other way. All right, so these protective soles are all ready. Ooh, they're pretty hot. I accidentally held them in there just a little bit too long. All right, line this up nicely. Ooh. Definitely held it in that oven just a little too long. Go for it. Janelle's got to use one of the machines real quick. So it's going to be a little noisy along with this hammering. Now the press will do most of the work as far as pressing everything in, but I like to run through with the hammer first to try to squeeze out any air pockets beforehand. And then I just take this back end of our French hammer right here. It's kind of rounded, and just press down just a little extra in that spot there. Now on our press, we're going to do it a very specific way, I guess you could say, pressing everything down. It's the same process as, you know, doing the sole, but because it's only basically a half sole, we're going to start out by doing the ball of the foot first right here, back to right there to press down that protective sole, and it'll help allow some air to possibly escape that may be still in here. We don't like air pockets. It weakens that bond a little bit, and so we got to make sure that we do section at a time. You know, again, some presses that do the whole thing all at once, they do a pretty good job, but every now and then you get those air pockets and they're just not good to have. The air pockets, they tend to sometimes squeak, or you know, in the right conditions, basically that air pocket can end up trying to escape on its own and squeeze out through the side, basically separating the protective sole from the sole itself, and start coming unglued. And you just want as much surface area actually coming into contact, both materials binding together, and that's what we're definitely trying to do. I'm going to take my trusty little hook razor here. And just cut off all that excess. And there are some cobblers that use these hook razors, sometimes a regular razor. Some actually just use scissors too. I can't stand using the scissors. The other one is using a lip knife like this. You can see how it's kind of curved right there and angled like that. You could do it with a lip knife as well. Works the same way. I just like these hooked razors like that there. Just more used to that in particular, so that's what I've been using for some time. I grew up using these lip knives, but nowadays actually all I use it for is actually getting in here, cutting this out, and sometimes with some thick materials that I can't get in here well enough to cut it out on our 5-in-1, I get in with this lip knife right here and kind of cut some of it off. You know, a little extra access to be cut off like that definitely helps. Alright, so I picked out the heels for these. We're going to be using the dovetail ones. Now they tend to run a little bit thicker than these regular ones here. You can tell right there, there's a bit of a thickness difference. And so we're going to be using the dovetail ones for these guys here. And I kind of wish they also made the dovetail a little bit thinner option than what we have right here. It would come in handy often. But for these boots, it's perfect because that's the thickness that we need anyways. So we'll go ahead and cut this off. Now at this point, we're much closer to being done, so we're gonna just need to sand out the heel base area here. I like to just touch it up a little bit, make sure if there's like any part like right there just sticking up, to make it just a little bit more flush. It's not a lot of sanding, it's just a hair, basically, even less than a hair, I guess you could say, to even it out. And then we're gonna apply the top lift heel. Now first I'm gonna run the nails in here, of course, on the inside, and I'll show you guys that in just a second. Alright, so we're here at our heel wheel, and basically this is designed to just run nails into the inside of the shoe. I'll show you real quick what happens. So we're gonna roll this down, and I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but you can see these little pins pop up right on the inside here, possibly. I don't know, I guess it doesn't show it all that well, but then inside of these holes down here, there are these pins that push the nails up. And so now we're just gonna fill them up real quick. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, grab some more. 6, 7. Okay. Now I'll just put the the boot on here. Line it up. Okay. And just roll it down. Alright. Okay. Now, I don't think you guys can really see in there. Maybe that little shine, see that nail right there that's shining? Just a little bit glaring, possibly. But it's embedded inside there now, so that's all this thing does. I mean, it does have a few other features and things like that, but not for these particular boots and shoes that we'll be using it for. So at this point, we're done now with this boot, and we'll move on. So, all right, so we're all done. Sand this all up a little bit, roughing it up, cleaning off some of that old glue, and making sure all these edges are all evened out. And at this point, actually, it'd be perfect time to re-glue those insoles, because we're all done with anything that can get in the way of the inside here. Now we're going to be keeping the original insoles. The insoles can usually be replaced, but these are still in fairly good shape. Just a little bit rough looking, I guess you could say. Just the coloring like that there. But these are the original Ferragamos, so we definitely want to make sure we're trying to keep them if possible. Now, just had to blow off a little bit of dust off of it. Make sure it all lays in there properly. Alright, we're back here again, and I'm gonna be attaching the heels now on here. Now these heels, they do come left and right, so we got to make sure that we put them on the proper one. See how it's slanted right there? This is supposed to be on the outer edge of the heel, basically. That's where most of your wear is. Now we're only going to stick this on for just a little bit onto the press. While we hammer this other one, and we'll take it off fairly quickly. Okay. Alright, there we go. It's on there now. Alright. So now I got some of that excess cut off with that 5-in-1 there. And now we're going to go over to that lip knife I mentioned to you before. So we can get in here and cut out some of this excess. Should probably sharpen this guy up. It's been a little while. There we go. Okay, so it's a bit closer there now, and it's going to get sanded out. Sorry to grab that phone call there. But anyways, this is all glued on there. We're gonna leave it overnight to cure and everything, because it's already the end of the day here. I've been doing other work in between these as well, so I have to set these aside so that they cure, and then I'll finish sanding them out tomorrow. Now you can see there's a bit of a gap possibly right there. See how it's notched out? That's a gentleman's notch right there. It's notched out at an angle, and we're gonna do the same thing for these when we're sanding it. It was initially designed for cuffed pants, for it not to catch on that cuff when you're walking, as well as those a certain technique of trying to keep your pants from creasing or anything or getting wrinkled. And it involved putting your pants on with your shoes or boots still on your feet, which I have no idea, why you would try that, but that corner would catch all the time and potentially rip those pants or wear it out over time, and that little notch started coming into play. And we cobblers, we still put that on there, kind of just as a little tradition, in other words, I guess you can call it. But yep, that's it for now as far as putting everything on, and we'll go ahead and set these up to dry and cure, and we'll see you tomorrow then. Alright, so we're back here again. Today's the next day. Now let everything sit and cure. Like I said, it was kind of the end of the day, so I had to just stop doing the work on these. But now they've cured well enough, and it's time to sand out this heel. We're starting out with our 24 grit sandpaper and just doing the heel. We're not trimming out the protective sole quite yet. We're gonna move over here to the left of me on our other sander that has a trimmer design for this, and it's softer sandpaper. It's at 100 grit. But let's go ahead and get started then. Got that a little more sanded up there. It's still fairly rough, so we're gonna move over to our next machine now. All right, we'll see you there. All right, we're back here over again at our other sanding machine. It's got a different trimmer on the side here than the other machine. It's a little bit smaller. It's designed to do smaller sections like this here with rubber. And then we've got our Brister cone right here. This actually sands out right on the inside here, and we just need to touch it up just a little bit. And then of course the sanding belt here is lighter at 100 grit, and then we have our numb keg sander right here that gives us our finishing look. It's a lot smoother as well, and we'll go ahead and get that started. It's gonna get a little noisy. All right. Alright, so we got it sanded down. It's a bit smoother now and everything. Now, you notice me sanding out that little gentleman's notch there. You can see it's a little oversized. Whoever did the rehealing on this before, or whatever work they may have done on it, they sanded it down just a little bit too much, and I had to unfortunately follow that shape to make sure it's as flush as possible there. But I mean, I guess it's definitely not too bad. But in order to try to save that original heel base to have it all fitting the same and everything, I had to follow that right there so that there's no edge sticking out too far, so that it ends up getting caught and then coming undone. But I'll go ahead and finish out this other one off camera so I'm not wasting your guys' time. And then we'll move on to getting these guys edged up and ready to continue on buffing and shining them. So we'll see you guys back in a second. Alright, we're back here again. It's the next day. Unfortunately, I had to leave. Wife was bugging me to hurry up and get home, so I had to ditch out on these, unfortunately. But we're basically done. Now at this point, I'm just going to be applying a finish on the edge here. And let me go grab my brush here. Now my cup for the solution is over on my shine machine. I thought it'd be easier for you guys to see it from here, but it's literally a varnishing solution that we put on. It's like an edge ink almost, but a little bit thicker. It allows us to really varnish these edges better. And as you can see, the edges there, they're not all that great yet because this is only the ink that we're putting on. We're going to set it aside to just dry for a little bit while we do the other one. And I'll go ahead and do this one off camera. I gotta make sure I clean that up first though, just to make sure. And then afterwards I'll meet you at the machines when we're gonna start varnishing these edges with wax. So we'll see you guys over by the machine in a second. Alright, so we're over at our shine machine now. And we've got a few different attachment of brushes and varnishing wheels here. So we've got our leather varnishing wheel right here. We've got our rougher nylon brush here that kind of helps buff up that a little bit more. And then we've got our soft horsehair brush right there as well. So Oh, phone thought I was saying something. Guess I talk funny or something. Do I talk funny? Don't laugh at me. But anyways, we're going to start by varnishing the edges. Now, we're going to use this hard Yankee wax is what it's called. We'll just apply it to our varnish wheel, and it heats up due to the friction and basically melts that wax into all the edges here and smoothens it out nicely. Afterwards, when I hit it on that nylon brush, it's going to kind of even everything out, and then the horsehair brush will make it pop and give it a nice finished, look. It'll really give it that extra hit of that melted wax, I guess you can call it. This is rough, this is medium, this is light, in other words. All right, so let's get going. All right, it gives you kind of an idea there, possibly. All right, that there. Quite a bit of a difference. So now we're gonna even it out a little on the nylon brush. We'll just apply just a tad bit of wax. Even though there's plenty already on here, it kind of helps just in case it feels like a spot that was slightly missed. Apply a good amount of pressure. And I'm trying to angle it a bit more to actually just hit just the edging most of all, but it's going to overlap a little bit onto that upper. We're still going to treat this upper anyways afterwards, so that gives you an idea there. It's a little hard to see, but you can see that shine a little bit more. See it, but gives it a smoother finish now. So I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to go ahead and take it over to the workbench and shine it some more. I'll go ahead and finish out this other one off camera for you, so I'm not wasting your time. So I'll see you guys back at the workbench in a second. All right, so we're back here over on my workbench now, and got the edges all done. You can see how shiny they are. Alright, now they're not at a full 100% shine yet, because we still have to treat the upper, and during that process we like to hit that edge just a little bit more. Put my gloves on at this point now. And we are going to use our Saphir Reno Matte. This is a larger bottle, of course. Some of you who know the product or use it and love it may know it in that smaller bottle that's glass. But I'll go ahead and finish the rest of this boot out off camera, so I'm not wasting too much more of your guys' time, and sticking in front of the fan. and then we'll just move on to our next step. I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker as far as the cleaning and treatment of the upper. I do have another video that's more detailed in depth with how we do our shines and treatments. Otherwise I'll just blabber on way too long and this will get too long, so I might as well actually do this off camera for you guys, because this video is already too long and you're probably sick of me probably skipping over every little section. But the way I'm going to do this is our regular, Medaille D'Or shine. I'm going to use Reno Matte on this. I'm going to take it a step up to our Medaille D'Or Renovator Cream here, like that. Condition that upper, allow that to dry and soak into that leather for a little while. This is mink oil and lanolin based as well. Well, it's mink oil based, but it has lanolin and beeswax also in it. So it's going to restore a lot of that nutrients to the upper. And then next step, I'm going to use the Pomadier cream from the Medaille D'Or line. I'm going to match up the color. I haven't yet done so, but I think that will actually match up perfect. The medium brown, number 37. That was a perfect grab. I just grabbed it at random. I'm going to use this, buff it up just a little bit to remove any excess creams, and then I'm going to go through by hand with our Pate Deluxe waxes and start bringing up that shine and everything and buff it up nicely. Once I get all that taken care of, I'll meet you guys back over here again. Otherwise this video is just going to get too long. Alright, so we're back here again. Like I said, I wasn't really going to show the whole shine process because I got a full video, but give it a good little buff over with the Saphir Medaille D'Or. I went through the welts with our little horsehair brush that looks like a toothbrush, applying some wax inside the welt there, on the edges a little bit more to give it just a bit more of a shine. Now, final touch. At this point, now I'm going to be adding some little brass tack nails here to the bottom of the heel to just help give it some decorative look. It also helps hold down that protective, not the protective sole, I'm sorry, the heel, the top lift heel a little bit better on top of that, because sometimes this leather piece, if it gets caught just right at the right angle, it likes to peel off just slightly. So we're just going to add a couple of nice little decorative brass tack nails. They're just quite literally like that there. Nothing too fancy, but they look nice, especially with that gold emblem there from JR. And I'm using my awl here first to do some markings of where they're gonna go and start the hole as well. And there's no real science to it necessarily. It's more of just eyeballing, really. And there are different ways to lay these out as well that we can do. So this is not quite necessary to make it look so nice or anything. You know, there are some shops that'll do just a machine that does a wire nail. It just shoots a wire into it. Doesn't look quite as nice, but you know, it's more functional, where this one is functional and looks nice. Plus the little brass tacks do kind of help extend that life expectancy of those heels just slightly. Sometimes like these holes try to close back up when we hammer. Now these little brass nails, I actually had to order them from Europe. Surprisingly, none of our suppliers here locally stock them. I mean, they carry plenty of nails, different ones, brass clinch nails, gripper nails, you know, the gripper or threaded nails, and just whole large variety of different ones, but nobody seemed to have carried any nice little decorative brass ones like this. So I talked to another cobbler and asked where he gets his from, and he was kind enough to help me out. Some of you may know him, Steve, out at Beatles Leather Works in Virginia. Great cobbler, and he pointed me in the right direction. I was very happy. Thanks, Steve. It was very, very helpful. I'm using these quite a bit now. I love it. There's a few cobblers in this community that are very, very helpful, very nice. Here in Colorado, unfortunately, the cobbler industry, everyone's very competitive. Nobody wants to help each other and just try to take business away from each other. It's frustrating, especially growing up in the industry, second generation cobbler. That's what I grew up around. And you think, all right, well, they're calling me their competitor, so they got to try to crush me. I guess I'm supposed to do that. And then I joined a couple of groups online, started talking to some of these other cobblers in other states, and it just really opened up my eyes to realize that there's plenty of work out there for everybody. I mean, there's plenty. And, each cobbler has his own specialties for the industry. Even not only just specialties, but there are cobbler shops that will definitely beat us, for example, on price and speed, where what we concentrate on is trying to bring a new level of quality, especially here to Colorado. There aren't really much shops out here that will use the JR products. They won't use the Saphir Medaille D'Or. Some of them just started using just the Saphir Beauty Decure, and that's kind of their limit. They're not wanting to even bother with the Medaille D'Or stuff because it's too expensive. But I've done my fair share of research, and I always love to research what it is I'm using. I mean, like everyone says, I am a millennial, so it's my duty and my job to research what it is I'm using and doing. It's expected of me. But that's perfectly fine. I won't go running around yelling I'm a millennial, but I guess I act like one sometimes when it comes to researching things. Usually when I'm not recording like this, I'm actually having videos playing in the background, just how-tos, product testing of other great cobblers and stuff, and just playing in the background. It's great noise and everything. Alright, so there we go. Just got like a couple little 3 pieces there on each corner of that leather there. And we could put more, we could get even more intricate, but I like a little more simplicity, just a little bit. Still like some decoration like that, but at the same time a little simplicity. There's that nice smooth finish. I really like that, actually, that I used the edging to kind of stain that bottom without actually sanding it out. Man, that turned out very nice looking. But anyways, I'll go ahead and finish out that other boot off camera, so I'm not wasting your guys' time blabbering more. But we've got the new JR full leather sole on there. We've got the JR combination dovetail heel on it as well, and then over top the Vibram Protective 2mm thick, it's just over 2mm thick protective sole for a little bit of traction and longer wear as well. And then gave it the Saphir Medaille D'Or shine, using multiple different things, cleaning off some of that old polish. But overall, it was a nice little project. I liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. More than welcome to give us a call, or if you're local, swing on by. Would love to help you out however we can. Anyways, if you want anything worked on that you may have, like getting a pair resoled with JR, or even just a house leather, or just half soles and heels, or shoot, even a shine. You know, you can always bring it by to us if you're here in Denver or surrounding areas. Even we have some people visiting from, you know, just Colorado Springs. That's, you know, a fair distance away from us, well over an hour drive. But you can always swing by and drop off whatever you may need, or you can ship it in too. Just go to our website, cobblersplus.com, and under the section where it says mail in order, just follow the instructions, fill out the PDF form on there, send it out to us with all your information and that PDF form printed and placed in the box. Once we receive it, we'll give you a call and talk over what we need to do or give any kind of recommendations, and just move on with the repairs and then ship them back to you. Also, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. I'm new to creating videos, of course, as most of you can tell. I'm not a professional. I'm a cobbler by trade. I grew up in it, you know, second generation, of course, but I do my best I can with the videos, and hopefully as time goes by I get better and better and only bring you guys higher and higher quality videos. So if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I'll definitely be having more videos coming out about, you know, our repair work processes, what we do, whether it's resoling, minor repairs, how we do shines in here, also recommendations. We'll do some product testing, reviews of things, side-by-side comparisons, and just basically everything revolving around footwear and leather goods, and, you know, some things outside of that as well too. So please subscribe, share the video if you like as well. Some people may enjoy it, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.